Yep. Nope. I guess that's something that Hank does specially. All
Okay.
right. Well, everybody, welcome to TPE Network's What If series. This is episode. What episode are we on now? 7, right?
7 sounds right.
All right. And it is called What If Thor Was an Only Child? So, all right, Mel, are you ready for this?
Yes, I am.
All right. Well, we start out at the beginning of what looks like the first Thor movie with Darcy and Jane in the desert. But in case, let's see, instead of the Bifrost landing in the desert, it lands in Las Vegas, and we get the Lady Sif and the Warriors 3 being led by Party Thor. How
The
about that
Party
intro?
Prince. Yes. Thor the Party Prince. And already you knew it was going to be a funny episode just because, the establishing shot. And so I knew we were in for a treat. So,
Man, it was great seeing that. I love how he laid down the line of like, your lives are about to end, and it's time for a party.
nice little pump fake because at first you're just like, oh, wait a minute, is Thor going to be serious because Loki's not around? And you're like, oh no, it's the exact opposite because
Oh yeah.
Thor was already serious. But okay,
I mean, you know what? Before we go any further, I love this episode. It was just after everything we've been dealing with these other what ifs. This was just a hoot. I've watched it like 4 times, and it's great.
yeah, to spoil our ratings. Yeah, I definitely this is my favorite one of the series. I mean, everything else, didn't really make sense the whole episode because like the Guardians of the Galaxy one, you're like, wait a minute, Black Panther just talks to Thanos and he changed his whole worldview. Like just little small things here and there don't make sense, but this one it kind of tracked if that makes sense.
Yeah, you know what? And if anything, if anyone who doesn't necessarily think that anything there would impossible, guess what? It's a cartoon. I think this one was more along the lines of let us have fun. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, I
I
agree.
really just wanted to see the recording studio with everybody showing up for this because there were so many different. I mean, they had all the regular crew, and I mean, you're picking out people through all of the Thor movies and all of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. And it's just a nonstop, probably like I would really love to see some like outtakes of them like recording because I bet you it was a great time.
Yep,
So
I agree.
So we get to step back and with the Watcher basically giving us a skinny on Loki actually being given to the Frost Giants instead of growing up with Thor. And with that, we see how Thor progresses in his, and basically turns into this frat boy because without Loki there to give him some sort of I guess a counterbalance to everything that's been going on with him, then it's just there's nothing stopping him from just being a spoiled rich boy basically.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like Thor once again was the most serious person already, but apparently Loki gave him that much of a much of a counterbalance, like you said. So this was definitely a different Thor.
All right, so now we are in Odin's chamber and Odin enters the Odin sleep. And I love the little touch on the face to make sure that that he's really asleep. But we get the all right. I'm heading out. You've got the keys to the house. I'm leaving you in charge, but I'm letting the neighbor keep an eye on you. Isn't that right, Hemdall? And I love how every time we get to him, he's just like squinting and like the real small eyes. He's like, oh man.
Yeah, it was I almost, and we could touch on this later, I almost got the impression like in real life when parents leave their kids that she kind of knew something was going to happen, but especially near the end she kind of gave this quizzical look, especially when he got the hammer back. But I wonder how much of this she knew and how much of this she was playing off that she didn't know about. So that be curious to delve into that, but I have a feeling she knew more than she let on.
Well, I'm curious. I thought that Hemdall's basically could see all.
Exactly.
So not noticing that there's like, party fest going on over here. I mean, I don't know how he could miss that, considering that if you're no matter what you're looking at, all these ships, everyone's going to the same place. So I
Exactly.
mean, he should have been like, hey man, there's cars parked all the way down the block. You should be able to figure out something's going on.
Or in
So
theory, he should be able to say, "Hey, if he can't see Earth, but we already know from the movies that he can see Earth. If he can't see Earth and there's this just black void, he's like, all these ships are going to this black void. Where's Thor? Thor's in this black void. So they kind of dropped the ball on that, but once again, it's a cartoon, and turn your brain off. So
I mean, when we have what ifs, there's parts of the what ifs that you have to disbelieve because they're just trying to give you a glimpse, and clearly they can't work out all the bugs. But
exactly.
all right, so we are back in Vegas where everyone in the galaxy is showing up for this party. Thor has been identified as the first one who's landed. So
Yes.
we get a Darcy and Jane call out where basically just Darcy being Darcy. I'm seriously, I could just watch an entire episode of just Darcy because if she's just gonna keep running her mouth like that, it's terrific. And then she calls out Howard the Duck, and to me, automatically, I was like, "Match made in heaven, guys. This is perfect."
So we assume he wasn't collected because of reasons, but okay.
But I mean, you get the snappiness of Darcy with the rudeness, snappiness of Howard the Duck, which was perfect, So anyway, Jane comes over to address Thor and figure out what's going on because she's concerned about the alien invasion and worlds blowing up. And Thor gets his flirt on with Jane, and Thor likes the light box. So what do you think of all of this now that we've unpacked them finally meeting and the party is just beginning?
So I like that they still established that no matter how he is, no matter what his personality, he's always going to be into Jane. So I thought that was a nice little touch. It reminded me of the whether he's Captain America or not, him and Peggy are going to always fall in love. So I like that touchback that they're saying that some of our heroes, no matter what, they're always going to be the same person. So I like that little touch on it, but I had to do a double check check when I was just thinking to myself, he doesn't know what an iPad is, but he hasn't gone to any worlds with technology. But okay, fine. Shut your
Well,
brain
I mean, how do we know this wasn't him just trying to, give her, all the compliments so, he can get all and busy later on? Because, I mean, he dropped everything. He's like, that's a smoothie right there. And he's like, what was that line? He's like, oh, your eyes, they're like two stars exploding in the galaxy. We're like, wow, geez.
Yeah, he was definitely laying it on, but and it was working.
Yeah.
It was working.
Oh man. And then let's see. Then you get Darcy turn around to Howard the Duck. You'd be like, dude, it's like, I know there's some nachos. They're like, it's not a date. Let's see where this takes us.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it was that Ron and Hermione thing. You're like, okay, they're arguing, they're gonna get together. So
I'm telling you, as soon as they introduced those two, I was like, something's gonna happen. This is gonna be great. And it was just classic, man. I mean, can we just have what's the rest of the night with them? Because it that it was just ridiculous of them probably just running around TPing houses and stuff like that. So
yeah, so instead of a Darcy and Woo spinoff, we need to have Darcy and Howard the Duck. It's been replaced.
Yes.
It's been replaced.
Oh, okay. So now we are off to look to what's going on with a good old fashioned montage. We get the Grandmaster throwing down on the ones and twos and dropping foam like it's hot.
Yeah, he was a better DJ in this reality, I like to say.
And then we get Nebula, who's basically, what she says, she's wishing for a new life. She's rolling the craps table. All right,
And
I'm gonna get his name wrong. Volstagg. I hope that's right. And he tries out that water-propelled jetpack
right,
and in the background we get a Valkyrie, Drax, and Lady Sif giving them face palms because of his nice crash.
yeah, and once again, I know it's a cartoon, and you shut your brain off for certain parts, but excuse me, Thanos is still alive. So why is Nebula and clearly Nebula still has some replacement parts, which means Thanos still did what he did to her. Put her against Gamora, and Drax obviously still had his daughter and wife killed. So the two of them, I kind of question, but other than that, shut your brain off, like you said, like we've been saying, and but those two, I really question the whole party atmosphere for those two.
Well, I mean, we know that Nebula got out and about, and she did do a lot of her own stuff sometimes. But you're right; she clearly didn't ever look like she was having fun. And in this, she went somewhere to have fun. But what if this is one of those, like, Thor is the part, he always throws the ragers, and you just follow the rager around all the time. So maybe she's like wants to get down on that and just basically stay with the clique.
Or she was on a mission. Who knows?
Mission to throw down some sevens.
Seriously.
So we get the marriage that I personally wanted of Howard the Duck and Darcy the Duck.
I sure. If you say so.
And then finally Thor and Jane get semi-matching tattoos with him getting the science and her getting the magic. And I mean, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is where we get clearly you're really showing off the fact that everyone's really hammered. Although, oh, that's right, there was that earlier scene whenever Thor's handing out the drinks to everyone, and we get the executioner, which I can't remember his name, but he's like, here you go, have this drink. It never ends. I don't know how.
Right. That was a part of there's this old fable, and they also touched on it in Doctor Strange. There's this old fable that Thor could just keep drinking, and the glasses never. It was some kind of a challenge in the lore, but he keeps drinking, and the glasses never get empty, so he can never be finished drinking. So there was a play on that because they also showed it in Doctor Strange, how the mugs just kept refilling. But there's some
Yep.
kind of lore where someone challenged him to a drinking contest and it never got empty. I have to look into that, but I know part of it, but not all of it.
Well, it's the next morning. Man, is it? I have to admit, I've seen mornings like this before. So
I think we all have.
all right. So the next morning, we get a rude awakening by multiple phone calls going on. You got phone 1 over here, phone 2 over here, and what's going on? And as we see, it's Shield at the door.
I wondered about the timeline on this. Was this still because clearly his whole life was different now? But so this didn't necessarily have to be the day after Iron Man 2, because even though we have Darcy and Jane out in the field like they would have normally been, but this could be before Iron Man 2 technically, and they could have been doing this research for like a year because we noticed that Selvig still wasn't there. So I was wondering about the timeline on this because technically, I was great to say Sam Jackson. Technically, Nick Fury should have been in LA with Tony Stark around this period of time, and it would have just been Coulson to deal with the Thor. But the timeline is kind of skewed because there's no pressure to do what he did because there's no Loki.
I mean, and we're also, you can think about it this way, is that, first off, you have the Helicarrier. We weren't introduced that until Avengers, but there's no reason why it couldn't have been working then. No one had seen it yet, but it seems as though they only activated it whenever there was some kind of peril. And I guess they're looking at this as peril, but I agree with you. I want to say it's probably within a year, plus or minus, somewhere around the first Thor movie when this happens.
Okay.
So, but let's see, and we get Agent Hill, and basically she has to give us the information of why she's the acting director. And, and this was good too. So then we see Fury sitting there, basically saying, you can party. It's like, you can party, but not here. And then here comes we see Cork running in to do a cannonball, and guess what? Fury becomes a cannonball.
And yeah, exactly. And since I was going to say the collector, since the Grandmaster didn't have Korg and the arena, Korg is free in this world, in this universe. So that's a nice little tie-in there. And like you said earlier, pretty much everybody in the Thor movies are just free and roaming about because they technically have no antagonists. I mean, they're even getting along with, well, that was great. I jumped the gun, but they're even getting along with the Frost Giants. So yeah.
Well, I mean, it's party, man. Who cares? Party, but
Party. The party is just unite everybody.
So we are on the Shield Helicarrier. What the Shield Helicarrier, and we're now discussing what Jane knows about Thor, and here we have all the key players of Shield basically being there, and with Coulson coming in and basically saying like the party's going all over the planet basically, and what was it? And Crossbones comes in with I forget what his actual in character name is. I just know him as his his bad guy character being Crossbones. And I do like the fact that they've been using him a lot because there's a lot of people who are upset about how they killed him off so quickly in the third Captain America movie. So this worked out where I believe he's been in roughly like 3 if not 4 episodes now. So
right.
We get it's time to bring in the last resort. And the last resort's a beeper, and we get to hear Darcy saying, oh, are you contacting a podiatrist? And then they do it, and it's done. And then she's like, so what happened? Did I miss it? What's going on? And
like always, her comic relief is always great. Like you can never get enough of her.
I really can't.
Yeah. It's awesome having her there.
Oh yes. So now we're back on the planet, and I'm not quite sure exactly where we are. We might still be in Vegas. We might be in Paris. I really don't know right now. But we see the Frost Giants show up, and lo and behold, we see Loki leading the pack. And this is interesting because now we get to see what Loki would have looked like had he actually grown up with the Frost Giants, and he would actually be a Frost Giant.
Right.
So, but he came in there throwing down some insults, and then they had their bro hugs. And what'd you think of this intro?
That part was just I loved it. I love that stuff. I love because I'm a Loki guy and still one of the best shows we've had, and it's just just great seeing them play off of each other since they didn't have that brotherly that antagonistic relationship or sibling rivalry. It's a better way to say that. There's no sibling rivalry, so it's just they were friends, brother from another mother, so to speak. In more ways.
Wait. I think it was mother. I'm pretty sure there's another mother in there.
Yeah, and so it was just great seeing them like that, and there was not enough Loki in this episode, in my opinion. He was right up there with Darcy.
Yes, especially when they leaned down and said, "Mother." So again, I want to see the outtakes of them recording this episode because everyone had a good time. I mean, they had to.
They had to. It's just that I don't know if you looked into this, but Drax wasn't Dave Bautista. It was he's a cartoon voice actor. He's been in a few things. His name is Fred Tatasciore, something to that nature. I think he's voiced another episode that we've done, but that you guys have done. But he voiced Drax in this episode. But other than that, I think it was all the originals.
Yeah, thank you for letting me know that because that was the only one that I was curious about.
Yeah.
Because I know, with his beef with the MCU right now, as well as, it was close, but it didn't have like the full like sound of Drax there.
Right.
So now we're talking about making Boom Boom, man. So he's like, "Do you make Boom Boom?" And he goes, "No, I make Boom Boom in private."
I love that play off of them. It's just you could tell that they've definitely been at a few parties together. Just the way they played off of each other in this universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and you know what? I know it's a cartoon, so it's not like they can just ad lib this stuff. But seriously, some of that, like when they're just how they're popping them off so quickly like that, it makes me wonder if they were actually sat down and like just let them play around to see like what comes out, and then to turn that into it. But yeah, that back and forth about the Boom Boom, man. But
Yeah.
that Boom Boom, it's something very important.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Captain Marvel shows up and shows Thor her fists, and Thor calls her a party pooper. Thor gets hit again, and Miss Marvel is introduced to the Hammerang.
Right, and this is where you get to see that the whole that little comic book trope of who would win in a fight between blank and blank,
Mm-hmm.
and clearly she kept her powers down, like she said. But something I was thinking about is, in theory, she's powered by a gem, and he's a god. And at the end of the day, you would think it would be one sided, but once again, you turn your brain off. But and the gem is magical, and in theory, you could have more magic, which is why Thanos is more powerful. But I thought that was interesting, just their power set, how they were quote unquote well matched.
I love the slow motion where we got the man. It was great. So Carol knocks him all over the place, and then knocks him to Stonehenge. Sorry, she gets knocked to Stonehenge, and then she almost knocks down a piece, and then Thor shows up, and then he knocks down all of Stonehenge.
That was funny because I love the way she said, "Yeah, nobody knows what this is." Before it was
I mean,
destroyed.
she barely knows what it is, but yeah, you're right. It's just it's that was great. So then now they're punching, basically knocks him over into another continent, and Thor hits her with all the lightning he's got, and she just stands there and smiles.
Yes, and I'm starting to wonder if that lightning does anything, because if you remember Avengers 1, the shield took the impact. It didn't do anything to Cap, and yeah, it was just kind of Cap when when he first met Cap, and it was the three-way fight between him, Iron Man, and Cap. He threw the lightning, and Cap just kind of blocked it, and that was the end of that. And so I'm wondering, did the lightning ever do anything to any hero? Because it just seems like at some point it should do something to somebody, but apparently
So
not today.
so in the D&D world, this would be she has resistance to electric and resistance to blunt force trauma, or I guess just like blunt objects, which would be fists. So
Right.
yes. Oh man. So let's see. Captain Marvel and Thor basically get knocked into the clouds, and they start just beating the bejesus out of each other, and that was cool. The blue lightning versus the gold lightning.
Yes, it
We end
was.
up back in Vegas, and Thor is given the party pooper a timeout.
I am curious why the Warriors 3 and Sif didn't do anything. They just kind of like nobody assisted him, but especially that group. I mean, they're supposed to be his best friends or what have you, and they're just watching him get knocked all over the place and just kind of. But like you said, it's a big party, so no one's serious in this world.
Well, this makes me wonder, because like at the beginning of this, it's something I didn't mention, but we get Thor's like raiding like the pantry of like all the beer, and then you hear like Lady Sif basically just telling them to like stop being cowards or whatever like that. So I'm pretty sure they're all just stuck in the party mode as well. So in this case,
Exactly.
it's we got to watch what's going on, and we're like, he's fine.
Right.
And then like for example, like whenever Thor's like calling Mjolnir, and he's like wait a minute, and he's like okay, let's do this. So like you're just like, oh man, he was over the top and was having a ball.
One problem I had with that is you remember Endgame when he first looks at her and he's like face to face with her and he calls Mjolnir back past her and she doesn't even flinch and it kind of touches her hair a little bit. But here, she's making all these looks and all being phased when a hammer comes past her. And I wish they kept it the same way where the hammer going by her doesn't phase her just like in the movie. But it's a cartoon, so they have to kind of show some things. So
Well, okay, so when he threw the hammer at her first, I think that she wasn't expecting it to come back, so that's what got her. So whenever in Endgame, it was Stormbreaker, by the way, because Mjolnir was destroyed by then. But
right,
but he didn't even have Stormbreaker in his hand. He just called it, and it just so happened to whiz by her head. So yeah, it was one of those look at that, she didn't even flinch kind of moments. But in this case, yeah, she wasn't expecting the hammering to come back at her. So and I just love this look of annoyance that she had, that every time that she'd smack him around and he dropped the hammer, then the hammer would just get up and just leave. And she's like, oh man, come on, just stop.
Which also brings me to something else. This was a more animated, pun intended, Captain Marvel than the movie, because I mean the movie, which I'm not going to rehash, but it felt like she was just kind of emotionless most of the time, and she just nothing phased her, or she had a smirk at best. But this one, she's given double takes and side eyes. It's just like, where was that Captain Marvel?
Yeah, I know. I mean, it hurts me to say this, but maybe she's just now getting into her character. I mean, she's a little behind, but and we're doing it in an animation style. But
Right, because in theory, her mannerisms should have been like Maria Hill's. When Maria Hill first confronted Jane, and she's just stoic. That's how they had Captain Marvel throughout the movie. So it just felt like that's how it should have been instead of her doing double takes. But you shut your brain off. What can you do?
back on the Helicarrier, we get a nice talking to, and Captain Marvel says that she's trying to take out Kappa Kappa frat freak. She said, but by doing so, it's not worth taking out a part of the planet. Jane gets a phone call from Thor, and Darcy has no idea where the Dakotas are.
Which wait, I mean, you got Mount Rushmore, but yeah, nobody's gonna miss North Dakota, just like you said.
I mean, Darcy is it at an 8, and she needed to be at a 4.
I love that one. I love that one.
Oh, so after the phone call, a little bit later on, we get the late night Chinese food, where Thor is eating, and Loki answers the phone,
asking for a friend. Yeah.
That was so great. Oh, we double date, and then drops the phone. He's like, oh.
I love that, because at first I thought he was being mischievous. I thought he was like going to do something and like kind of get Thor in trouble, but you realize nope, he's just asking for himself. So yeah, it was just great to see him still like in a good Loki. I love good Loki.
Yeah. So now basically they get dropped off because they're no use to a shield as of right now, and Darcy suggests to call mom, and that she is now a genius for something she doesn't know what she did. The Frost Giants are playing with the eye. Let me see. What was that? They're playing with what was it? It was Mount Rushmore, right? And they were like putting up the ice stuff while Serta hits on the Statue of Liberty. That was funny too. That whole Serta thing was just great. He's like, hey.
And so in this universe, even though Surtur is still prophesized to destroy Asgard, a little party doesn't hurt along the way, apparently. Yeah, I'm going to destroy your planet eventually, but right now we can just hang out and be buddies.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm surprised we didn't bring in where was Ego at, because I mean he should be hanging out in the background too, right?
Technically.
So Thor's in Australia about to do some shenanigans, but Captain Marvel snags him in mid shenanigan, and while Jane calls for Hemdall, and also Darcy wants to know who is the owner of that, the green Prius.
Nice.
Yeah.
Never
What
enough,
do you do?
Darcy.
What do you do with all the satellites on the planet? You prank people.
Yeah, Darcy was awesome.
So Hemdall picks up Jane, then sends Jane to Mom, and Jane sells out Thor while while we're about to see a showdown between the Helicarrier, Captain Marvel, and Thor. And we're about to get the big boom, but no big boom because we get the big mom showing up.
Yeah, and I question what the nukes would have done because in another universe he got killed by an arrow, but in this universe, he could withstand Captain Marvel, and I'm assuming it's because in the other universe he was depowered by Odin. Correct? Is that wasn't at the beginning of the first Thor movie? He was
Yes.
depowered when he was sent down there. That's why the arrow would have killed him. But I don't
I
think the
think that
nukes would have done anything.
I think that he was still an Asgardian. Like he was, stronger, faster, able to do things better than a human, but Thor has additional powers, which is, blessed upon him by royalty or whatever, and that was what was taken away. So you're right. He got shot by an arrow. What a wimpy way to die for him. But he's not impervious there. When he has all of his powers, then now we're approaching the impervious part.
Okay.
All right. And also I like that Jane is just hammering some of that, like that. What was it? Was it White Zen or was it? She just choo.
Yeah. This was a really good episode.
Yeah. So Thor is about to get in some deep S while Loki makes the world's largest slingshot. Everyone starts to bail on him.
St. Louis.
Yeah. Which, by the way, you're like, well, how would he know that? I mean, unless he was like just found some sign laying somewhere. But I mean, that was good. And then they got the ships hovering in the air. So everyone is starting to bail, and Thor puts the hammer down that his mother is coming. Everyone clean up the house, hide the kegs.
And technically, if this was a real party environment, everybody would leave fast, and there'd be like 3 people who would help. There's always somebody that helps. Like nobody just completely leaves, like they were threatening to do.
Oh, and it's a worldwide party too. So I mean, you had a lot of people doing stuff.
Yeah, that is true.
So we get the fix everything montage, and even with Thor even fixing the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Because he just assumed someone knocked it over.
I thought that was good. He ran over there, like he stood it back up, and I'm like, oh jeez. Oh well.
Like what is it, Superman 3 or was it 4? I think it was 3 where Superman got drunk and he fixed the Leaning Tower at Pisa.
So Mom shows up. Oh no, I want to, before Mom shows up, I like this entire how long it takes for her to use the Bifrost to get from Asgard to Midgard, because like yeah, I know. So I mean, we know that that's like maybe seconds that you're in that. So she got pulled from where she was. So what, 10 seconds? Then she gets there, she looks at Hemdall, another 10 seconds, and then we shoot her towards Midgard, and that should be like 10 seconds, but in reality it was like 3 minutes. Exactly. So maybe it's a little bit longer than that, but my God, man, they went around and cleaned that entire planet in the time it took for her. Yeah, exactly. But she shows up, and guess what? Study group is going on.
Yeah. Good old study group. Everybody, nobody smelled like alcohol. Nobody had hangovers. Everybody could sit upright.
Yes.
Not the kind of party people I know, but by all means.
Oh, and they're all like attention and turn real quick. But which by the way, where's the Grand Master? Oh no, he rolled out on the little scooter.
Yeah. So the Grandmaster is more afraid of Frigga. Got
Yes,
it.
he's like, peace out. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, why wasn't the collector there? I feel that he should have been there as well. I mean, just for some drinks, if anything.
Because then they don't have to explain it. They're brothers or cousins. And they didn't want
Nah,
to waste a minute of that dialogue, apparently.
I think they already had enough money sunk into the fact that they've got so many voice actors there. They're just adding one more to the group.
Exactly.
But so she shows up, and Captain Marvel shows up to give Thor homework. Which I mean, I actually was not expecting that. What about you?
I liked it. I was definitely surprised because I thought she was just going to come back in the end and ruin things because that's my opinion of Captain Marvel. Not a partier at all, and so it's definitely cool that she helped them out like that.
Hey, she did feel sorry for him, and remember, you start in the corners and work your way out.
Right.
But
Yeah,
but
you
but seriously,
don't paint yourself into a corner.
but honestly though, what happened to Mjolnir? How does Mjolnir have all that graffiti on it and the beads and underwear? Like, what was it doing?
So he just left it in New Orleans at Mardi Gras and just
Seriously.
forgot it. It's like, okay, sure. People saw the hammer. I was like, oh, hey, let's decorate it. It's just a part of the street, so beads get on it. We
And I
just
know
have to.
I love the gee, seriously, it's like all the work he did and he destroyed it, all the confidence with one little motion of getting the hammer.
But it didn't
Wonderful.
phase her, which makes me wonder how much of this was she letting on, and how much did she like? What does she really know? Like that's my question because she kind of noticed the hammer, and then but he didn't really get in trouble, so to speak. So so you have to wonder what she's letting on about
Well,
or
I
not
want to
letting on about.
know what she would have done if they had, fully caught the whole place a mess. I mean, yeah, he's scared of his mom, but like, what was she going to do? But of course, everybody else was scared of her as well.
I think maybe it's not the mom as much as what's going to happen to what a mom tells Odin. Maybe it was afraid by association kind of thing. Who knows?
Oh, and I had that Frida knowing who Captain Marvel is, that was interesting. So
Yes, it was. I because in this world, you figure Captain Marvel was still helping people, and the scrolls were helped, which means she would have fought Kree. So yeah, I guess as a fighter, she would have been known throughout different areas. But he didn't know who she was. So,
yeah.
but of
Well,
course,
well,
Frigga knows more. So
well. Remember, she's not in the party group. Typically, no party poopers allowed.
yes,
So now we are at the end with the voiceover of the Watcher when Thor bringing Jane flowers, and as it ends, even the Watcher is surprised that we
yes, he was.
see some Ultron bots coming through a portal with a massive Ultron that looks very similar to that of the Age of Ultron MCU movie, and mounted in his armor are all the Infinity Stones. The mask
Yes,
lifts, and we see that he is in the Vision's body.
correct. Which I have a whole lot of questions about, but I just went okay.
This is like last week's episode where I was so sure that we were going to see a continuation of what was going on there, because why would they set that up like that? But I
Exactly.
mean, this, I'm like, you're like, oh crap, we just went through a whole like hilarious episode to Ultron with Infinity Stones. That's
Yes,
just horrifying. I don't even want to think about that.
yes, and so you figure Ultron did the whole getting Vision's body thing, like he was going to do in Age of Ultron, but for him to go after the stones, that where's Thanos in all of this? Like, I mean, if Thanos is going to get the stones, even when he's turns into a zombie, like you would figure that point in time is still fixed in most realities. So It's just interesting. Very,
Well,
very interesting.
now it was thought of. I mean, I was doing some reading. It's thought of that this Ultron might not be from their reality. It might actually be from a different reality because
I
this was one
did
of
hear
those
about
things
that.
where, like, even the Watcher was like, "Huh? Whoa, wait a second, what's going on?" So whenever he starts making comments like that, then it's something that he can't see. And if it was something from another dimension or another reality coming over into this one, then that would make sense.
That makes sense, and I forgot that the second time I watched it, I looked into it, and some people did theorize that that wasn't this universe, which is why even a watcher was thrown off because based on what he was watching, this didn't make sense. So this is that you're right. That would make a lot of sense.
All right. Well, let's go to our ratings. Do you want to go first since you're the guest today?
Sure, sure. Thanks. I have a few problems with it, so I'm trying to figure out if I should give it a 9 or a 9.5. It's very close to being a 10. It's my favorite episode of the whole series. I definitely probably a 9 would make more sense
You know
because
what?
the
I'm right.
ending.
I'm right there with you with the 9. I haven't laughed this much through like a cartoon like that in a while. It was great. I mean, you got the senseless violence of two superpowered people beating the bejesus out of us, but then you get to hear like Darcy be Darcy for an extended amount of period. And yeah, I had so much fun. The only thing that would have made it a little bit better is if we had more Nick Fury interaction in there, outside of him just being in a coma the entire time. But yeah,
Yeah, it was a very good episode. It's gonna be. I worry about the next one because I never look ahead because they have a way of spoiling it in the title, so I try not to notice about it until I click on it, and so the next one has a lot of work because you're gonna come. I can't see how the next one's gonna be as good as this one because and then
well,
anything would be better than a zombies. So
I say we're running out of episodes, so I mean, unless they're going to do a supersized episode, I mean, this one ran at 35 minutes, which means we got about 28 minutes of actual useful video, and we got 2 more episodes left. So it's either going to be another 30-minute, and then maybe they'll do a little bit longer one. Maybe it could be a two-parter. We don't know. So well,
yeah.
we have some. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, you're right. I was thinking it's weird that we didn't ever see a frost giant Loki as a variant, but yeah, this was definitely a good thing.
All right. Well, there's some feedback that Hank had sent me that was from last week's episode. So I'm going to go ahead and read that.
Okay.
So, hi, Hank and John. Well, this one was funny instead of depressing. Nice change, but was there a point to the story? Actually, wait, this might have been more of for this episode. So I have to
It
apologize
sounds
about that
like.
because anyway, says, what was the problem? I don't like that there was a body count this time. What is the Vision up to? Thanks, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, you're right. I don't know if there was a real point to this story, not unless the last scene that we saw is going to somehow translate into the last episode, which is possible.
I think it kind of it kind of shows how people affect other people and the whole what if mentality of one thing can make the world a lot more interesting or better, kind of like when Black Panther became Star Lord, how everything's better and Thanos doesn't do his goal because Black Panther talked him out of it, and all the way around there's less turmoil because Black Panther's now Star Lord. In this episode, without Loki, everybody is just the whole world is more universe is more of a partying atmosphere because one person. So it's just I think it kind of touches onto that. Um, just these small changes affect the universe in a good way or a bad way. And as we saw at the end, it still looks like it could get worse. Even though the whole episode we were like, there's no problems. And then, oh, because nobody's a fighter, they're susceptible to a Vision Ultron at the end. So I think it's just meant to show just the small changes could be good or bad.
I agree. I got one more. It says, "Hi Hank, hi John. Just a quick note after this week's What If. I'm putting this out there into the multiverse that at sometime we get a short mid-credit scene with Darcy Lewis and, Kat Dennings and Beverly Switzler, Leah Thompson in a room in an awkward silence, just looking at each other. Again, thanks for the podcast, Tom." Yes. Yes.
I'm pretty sure Howard the Duck is not canon. That movie is Marvel does not want us to remember that movie happened.
Oh, and yeah, just endless staring.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Don't hold your breath on that one.
Well, Mel, this is great fun. This was a heck of a fun episode to watch. It was a heck of a fun podcast to record because this was so goofy and all over the place. I am happy that you and I were able to do this one together, and so we didn't have to go down some depressing road. But
yeah, I am glad it was this episode and not the zombie one because I would have derailed it way too many times. Like you guys, I was listening to that one. You guys kind of skipped over, not skipped, but I'm glad you guys didn't harp on problems because people wouldn't have liked it. Like if I did it, there was a lot of things with the zombie stuff, like how does Cap hold like the muscle things and all this other stuff that you just have to like ignore, but a lot of you just don't want to ignore it because this makes no sense. So I'm glad I wasn't on the zombie one. This was a lot better for me.
well, I mean, for me, it was like, okay, if you have an arm that's a skeleton, but I'm still throwing it, how's the arm even staying on?
Exactly.
That kind of thing. Now, I mean, but that was a different podcast, and I've actually, well, I haven't read all those comics, but I've gone through a bunch of like the reviews of it, so I know a lot of the stuff that was going on in there, and I mean. It's how much can you squeeze into a 30-minute episode? So
Exactly. I mean, it's and at least I mean, technically, if they did they follow the comic, they would be talking as well, like they did in a comic. Then I remember the first series I read, Silver Surfer showed up to warn about Galactus, and they all ate him, and they got Silver Surfer's powers.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm glad they toned that one down because it could have been worse. That's my least favorite episode. So yeah, thanks for having me on a way better episode.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. Well, do you have anything else to add to this?
No, this was great, and you know, I hate to. Hopefully, I didn't mess up Hank's place too much, and we'll go back. You guys will go back to your regularly scheduled routine next week, and yeah.
Whoa, hold on a second. No. I need to say, I hope I didn't mess up Hank's place too much. You did a great job taking my place.
Hopefully I did. That remains to be seen. No, I definitely, especially if it was one of the Star Wars materials, like you come up, you and Alex, you guys have references that I that I mean I have an X-Men tattoo and I'm not even much of a Marvel fanboy. I don't have as much Marvel information as I should. But yeah. So hopefully I did okay. Hopefully everybody is okay with this, and next week everything should go back to normal.
So, well, everyone, this is my my first solo trip doing this, so I hope I didn't train wreck myself too much out there. But for Mel and myself, and also for Hank, I'd like to thank you all for listening, and we will catch you again next time.
Okay.